Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Well, as you know, I am officially 1,000 days sober. Yay! And who better to chat about this with than Lee Davy from 1,000 Days Sober. If you're watching the video, he's got balloons and everything. Oh, that's so cool.
They're pretty crappy balloons.
They're a little bit squished.
They're a little bit squished, but hey.
Yeah.
If I had a kazoo, I'd blow it.
Would you? Well, I like your party hat. For anyone who's just listening to this, we're having our own little Zoom party. But, you know, I thought, well, rather than just do a regular kind of interview for the podcast, I realised that I could just come on and talk at you. But I thought it'd be much more fun to you know, chat with someone else. And, you know, who better? Because 1,000 days is your thing, right, Lee? So before we talk about me, tell me about, you know, just for anyone who didn't hear out the podcast that we did together before, why the significance of 1,000 days for you?
Why the significance of 1,000 days? I want to preface this by saying that I really believe that results don't take time, they take courage. But it takes time sometimes for some people to develop courage. Yeah. And the people that usually end up on my doorstep asking me to help them become people that don't drink alcohol, they don't have a lot of courage. So to ask them to do a 30-day program or a month program or a 3-month program, and then just letting them go, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. Okay, so how do you, what support did you need, Lee? And I was like, okay, I read Alan Carr's book, Easy Way to Control Alcohol. I immediately wanted to reach out to him, but he was dead. So that was a problem. I reached out to his company and I was dealing with a corporate face. So that was a problem. So there was nothing. I was on my Jack Jones. So I've realized, and that was like 10 years ago. So what, 35 to 45. So I've gone on this journey of self-development, which is often kick-started by the decision to stop drinking alcohol for people. You really start to ask that question why a lot more, and you grow in spiritually, mentally, physically, everything grows. And then you realize, holy shit, like I'm going to need help forever. Yeah. But not help because I'm like infantile and I don't know how to, do life. But help in as much as my goals and the place that I want to get to, in order for me to achieve them, I'm going to need people to guide me there and help me get there. So 1,000 Days Sober is a little bit sneaky because we're a lifetime gig, but we don't advertise it as lifetime because people wouldn't join. So I thought that the nice gimmicky marketing sort of long-term thing would be 1,000 Days Sober. And Janey, even that scares the living crap out of people.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I get that completely. I mean, I think it probably, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because if you'd said to me at the beginning, you know, are you definitely quitting for 1,000 days or forever? I couldn't think beyond the next day, you know. I don't think most people can. But, you know, you're right. It's a magical number because you've done obviously all the firsts, you know, all the kind of, you know, obviously your first Christmas and your first holiday and all of those things. And then you've had that kind of almost like, because I think the second year sober is quite different to the first, actually, in a great way. So yeah, it is a kind of magical time. And funnily enough, I almost missed it because I actually don't count days. I don't really look at apps or anything anymore. So I almost missed it completely as a number. And I just happened to think, hold on a minute. It's not far off a year. So let's have a look. But yeah, I mean, I love what you know, everything you're saying, because it's exactly my kind of thinking really with what I'm trying to do with the Sober Club is sort of encourage people to to think about all those other layers. And that's what you see happening, isn't it? It is amazing how you start to unravel all these other bits, or unwrap, as somebody said in my group the other day, because I'm always talking about another layer as if it's like an onion. And she said, no, it's more like pass the parcel. I thought that's much better. So you take another layer of the wrapping off, it's really true.
I just came off a conversation, just literally just jumped off that one onto this one with a beautiful woman in her 50s in the UK, and so she came to me 13 months sober. Like, think about that. Like, she hasn't had a drink for 13 months. And I'm kind of like, how can I help you? It's just like, I don't really know, but I'm here. So there must be something going on. And, what it transpired was nobody had ever given her permission to dream big, to think that she was entitled to have power, to reclaim it, to step into it, to demand that, put up boundaries and demand respect of those boundaries. And when we started talking, it was quite clear that, you could go 13 months, 14 months, 2 years, 3 years. And if we haven't, fixed the underlying issues that are actually pushing our desire to drink, because I really believe like this, there's a number of, like, it's a complicated beast, but there are two things that really stand out for me that we need to work on, and one of them is like understanding how the system works. So understanding, what do I mean by system? How does the world work? So once you figure out how the world works and the systems of the world work and the institutions and how we've been programmed to drink alcohol from birth, or how we've been programmed to eat sugar from birth and all this kind of stuff. And it's going on a little bit now, like there's a microcosm of it with COVID and lockdown and wear your mask, go 6 feet, this type of thing. And you can see it driving a wedge between people because of their beliefs and their convictions and worldviews. And then there's another element to it, which is very much trauma related. And almost all of us can point to an abandonment of some issue when we were children, either by our parents physically or just emotionally, at school, whatever. And that in itself then sets in motion like a whole series of shame-based behaviors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where, we do end up at 35, like I did, thinking, how the hell did I get here? So this lady is like finding out that, wow, like I've been sober for 30 months and I don't know what to make of it. And that's okay. That's perfectly okay. And it's good that we have people that she can come to, because she doesn't want to go on a 30-day alcohol-free month thing or a 3-month thing or whatever. So I think there needs to be that long-term guide or help,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. In fact, I was talking to somebody who also, it was really interesting because she has been sober for, I think she was saying something like 18 months, so a long time. But she still was thinking about going back to drinking. And that was an interesting one for me. That was a really interesting one. And I can only wonder whether she's still locked in that sort of trap where she thinks that there's some value attached to alcohol, and she's sort of holding that candle for something that she feels, I don't know, the associations are there. So she hasn't actually kind of caught sight of what she can unwrap, really. Don't know. Interesting.
When I come across, we have people like that within our group, and often what we see patterns emerging with people. And one of the patterns is failing to choose. Like, so the energy that people are putting into this decision to be someone that doesn't drink alcohol, it comes from a place of scarcity. And
totally.
It comes, and then that ties into the scarcity energy that the addicted system in the world feeds off, right? So I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not toned enough. My sobriety stories aren't as depraved enough. The whole world is driven by scarcity. So, that is much different energy than saying I choose to live the most amazing, brilliant life, and then where that energy flows. So you're making a choice. Very often you get people who get so far down the road. I always remember my first father-in-law stopped smoking because his granddaughter had asthma, not because he wanted to stop
Didn't
smoking.
choose, yeah.
So he spent his entire life wanting to smoke a cigarette, but choosing not to because of his daughter, which is such a shame because he could have chose to not smoke for himself. And the benefit of choosing not to smoke for himself would have been felt by his daughter. So again, for something like that, that's why guides like you come in, like really helpful to do that. Like you don't want to be coming from a place of lack, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally.
You said you said the second year was different to the first year. Why was that?
I think I was just a bit more comfortable in my own skin, really. I think the first year, everything's new. There's so many new experiences, big and small. As you say, there's all the big ones. Obviously, there's the, the events and the things that you do every year, which in your first year, I think are massive. And one thing I learned was that you really have to prep for those things. And that's one of the things that I try and sort of teach people, because that's when, these associations. So for example, in the UK, when my kids were young and we do sort of bonfire night, and 5th of November, and it's like a real thing. And the kids have got chestnuts or whatever it is, and the adults drink wine, and that's kind of the thing. And so it's those kind of things that you're thinking about, and you're thinking, oh my, am I going to tip up? So you have to really be on your guard, I think, in that first year for all of those things, all those associations, all of those events that will come up. But then when you're into the second year, you've kind of been around the block a little bit. And for me, I just felt that, obviously I've been kind of working in this arena as well, so it's slightly different. So obviously I've been doing lots of stuff, but I think for everyone, I would hope that by the second year, you're starting to get a little bit of an idea who you are, because I think most of us don't know, because we're also got, emotionally unintelligent, aren't we? If you started drinking when you're a bloody teenager, we actually have not really had very much experience in dealing with anything, certainly not the hard shit, without numbing out. So all those experiences are new, really.
The whole world's set up against us, isn't it? To be authentic and to, like, you think about it, like, we're human beings. And the world is set up so we cannot speak our truth, because if we speak our truth, the consequences are too dire. And then when we have this biological urge to fit into a tribe, yet the consequences of being who you are in that tribe means you can't. So you have to wear masks, you have to don armor, you have to nod your head, you have to. It's really challenging, and to be not. There's two different things, isn't there? There's being aware of that. So like, I'm aware when I slip into that behavior, but then there's something even worse when you're not aware. Like, you're not aware that you're just, blindly kind of on this cruise, and you're not really in control. You're not like grabbing the rudder or anything. I'll give you an example. I'm in this coaching container at the moment, and one of the things that we have to do is write personal philosophy posts. So mine was moderation. Drinking alcohol moderately is one of the biggest problems we have when it comes to alcohol, because it convinces our children that it's okay. So that was my personal philosophy post. But other people had personal philosophy posts around, it's okay for me to photograph myself semi-naked and celebrate my womanness. There was people said it's okay for me to wear makeup. It's okay for me I don't want to wear a mask. And I found myself, Janey, going to the post and saying things like, thank you for being so honest. Well done on posting your post. And then I stopped myself and thought, what a load of bullshit. How do you really feel about this? And why are you not speaking your truth? And then I was catching myself because I wanted approval. And if I was to type in there, actually, I love you dearly, Janey. Let's just say, for example, I love you dearly, but my thoughts differ from yours when it comes to this discussion about photographing ourselves semi-naked and posting on social media. And I would like to have that debate with you. Like, what stopped me from doing that, really? I don't want to not to like me. And I don't want the other people in that social media feed to start attacking me, because that's going to make me feel bad. Now, a lot of people are not aware of that. Not even thinking about that. No, I don't drink anymore, and I think about those things, but I still get caught. And we should be allowed to be, okay, I approve of myself. I approve of myself. I don't need the approval of others. So I can just be who I want to be in this post, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's so much of it really, is that self-esteem, self-worth. It's whatever words you use, self-care, self-love, all of those things that I had no concept of really till I ditched the booze, even though I was teaching other people about that stuff.
That's what I'm saying. It's the complete difference between like it's like being conscious and not being conscious. It's like understanding something and mastering something. What did someone say to me, one of my coaches yesterday? Don't take the lid off something you can't put back on. And that to me was like, oh, I've done that so many times. Like when I stopped drinking, I read Alan Carr's Easy Way to Control Alcohol. I stopped drinking. I was like, right, I'm going to change the world. I know it all. I'm going to help everybody stop drinking. And of course, you go out there and you speak to somebody and you're like, you've got this authority about you. And all of a sudden they start telling you all about their past and their trauma and everything. And you're like, oh, what have I done? You've opened up the box and you can't put a lid on it, right? Like,
Yeah, very true. So what shall we do? Shall I tell you some of my fabulous moments of being sober?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? I mean, I haven't really created a list. I probably should have done, but as it's you, I thought we'd just jam.
I like it. I like jamming.
What we were just saying about the self-love thing and the self-esteem. I don't know how you say it. It always sounds naff, whichever way around you say it. But for me, I think that was one of the biggest kind of revelations, really, was that I had been, I'm a Hay House author. I presented Hay House Radio for years. So there isn't really a guru that I haven't interviewed in that kind of arena. So I logically, I know everything there is to know about the concept of the importance of self-love and Louise Hay's work, mirror work, and all of that stuff. And I was totally steeped in it, and I used to speak about it, and it was very, it was a very big part of my thing. And yet it didn't apply to me. And somehow I seem to think that was okay. It's just bizarre. And I look back now, oh my God, it's hilarious. There's obviously just this massive, dirty, great big elephant in the room that I just kept stepping around. So that if anyone ever threw a question back at me, what's your meditation practice, or how do you, or maybe they would catch me. Actually, I remember occasionally I would say something about myself, something, really bitterly horrible about myself. And I remember a girlfriend once picking me up on it. I think we'd gone off to a retreat. It was Jason Vale's retreat in Portugal. And I made some really horrible comment about myself, which was what I did all the time, And she said, why did you say that about yourself? Why did you say that? And I said, well, because it's true, look at me. And she said, yeah, I'm looking at you, and I'm seeing all of you. And I don't care about whatever it was I was complaining about, so I'm seeing all of you, and I don't understand why you would speak about yourself like that. And it really struck me. So she kind of called me out on it.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, really, really good friend. But of course, I now realize that it's what I did all the time, and it's what so many people do, particularly women. We do it all the time. And I, I've said this before, but there's a school of thought that says if we you know, if there was a child in the room, you know, or you might want to say your inner child in the room hearing that stuff, you'd be had for abuse. You wouldn't say that stuff about anyone else. And I think that's what it all tracks back to, really. Somebody put a really beautiful post on the Sober Club this week. She's I think she's about 900 days sober or something. And she was talking about self-love. And she put this little photo of herself as a baby, which was a really lovely idea. And she said, you know, when I look back at that little girl, imagine if I'd kind of all throughout given her the kind of love that I would give to my own little girl, you know. Yeah. But none of us do we? It's actually quite bizarre when you think about it. You know, I've got 4 kids, and you know, you know, as with any parent, there isn't anything I wouldn't do for the kids, and I would never speak to them in the way that I have always spoken to myself. So I don't know, they're little things, but they're massive, actually.
That's massive. What comes up for me when you're saying that is the difference between doing and being. Yeah. And so often I see people, they want to stop drinking alcohol, and they think, right, I got to do the work, I got to do Lee's assignments, I've got to do his Marco Polo stuff, I got to do this, I got to do that, right? But it's about being. It's like, who do you want to be? How do you want to embody, like, your values, how do you want your energy to be? How do you want to talk to children? It's about being, not doing. Yeah. Like, you need to first choose to be the type of person who is, you know, not going to, you know, talk down to your children. Do you know what I did not long ago? I have a 4-year-old daughter. She loves her dresses and dancing and stuff. She come downstairs, she had a dress on, right? And I went like this, Janey. I went, and my wife from LA looked at me and said, "What the fuck was that?" And I said, "Well, she looks really nice." And she said, "You wolf whistling at a 4-year-old, you know?" And I was like, and she's like, "Is that who you want to be?" And of course, like, I get defensive, right? I'm like, "Oh, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. I didn't mean anything by it." Then on reflection, it's like, I don't want to be a guy who wolf whistles at his daughter, because that's telling my daughter that it's okay for her to be wolf whistled, or wolf whistling means a sign of approval that you look beautiful, etc., etc. And then it sends you on down the rabbit hole. Where did that come from? Why am I doing that? And goes back to your dad, goes back to you. So that is like doing and being. I think what you're saying quite beautifully is a, you know, amazing milestone of recognizing, yeah, I need to be the person I'm selling to the world here.
Yeah, totally. It really is.
Give me another one.
Another one. Okay, so another one is anxiety. So much less anxiety, man.
And people drink thinking it's going to cure it.
Yeah, well, you know, again, it's interesting because I have never had any kind of diagnosis of having anxiety or depression or anything. But actually now when I look back, oh my God, I mean, I can see that it's clearly been there, you know, forever and a day. I'm beyond anxious. I mean, bonkers anxious all the time, totally fearful, stressed, panicky, anxious person. And I just thought that was normal. I thought that was what everyone who's kind of busy is like. And when I stopped drinking, and I remember the first few times I kind of woke up and apart from the absolute amazing joy of not, you know, waking up not hungover, how beautiful is that? But apart from that, I remember sort of waking up and sort of, you know, you're kind of surfacing and thinking, what is that feeling?
I'm missing something.
What is this feeling? Yeah. And then you sort of realize, hold on, it's that I am not anxious. It's that I'm sort of contented, you know, and it was just the most striking thing, really, really striking. And it's only that I started kind of obviously reading Quit Lit and started to realize that, yeah, that's a thing. That's an actual thing, that people's anxiety, obviously depending on severity, gets a little better or goes completely. And it's it's absolutely incredible the difference it makes. And I've since become just really passionate actually about trying to encourage. I really, really want, therapists and medical professionals and practitioners and coaches to ask the right questions, around alcohol.
Man, that's such an important thing you just said.
It's so important. And I remember, so many times going to see therapists in the line of work I do, not necessarily because there was anything wrong. I'd sometimes be offered certain therapies and I'd review them or whatever, treatments or practice, various things. And if the person was someone I felt really comfortable with, I mean, I remember on more than one occasion, probably 4 or 5 times, one was a GP and the others were either therapists or kind of coaches or practitioners or bodywork practitioners. And 4 or 5 times I felt comfortable enough to sort of, at the end of the session, say to them, actually, there is something else that I'd kind of quite like to just share with you. I think I might be drinking too much, and that was huge for me to say that. I mean, I felt so shameful saying it. And on every single occasion, it was just, oh, it sounds like you're fine, just have an alcohol-free day. Yeah. If I hear that sentence one more time, I swear. And that they were doing the best they could. I know that. But what that did was that made me think, oh, fantastic, bring it on. And then off I'd go again, and well, the GP says it's okay. The healing practitioner, the holistic healthcare practitioner says it's okay. And I mean, thankfully, I think things are starting to change a little bit. I did some work with the Federation of Holistic Therapists in the UK, and they did a survey with their therapists, which I thought was a fantastic thing to do, asking them this, raising this awareness. And some of them were really honest, and they admitted that no, they don't actually know what to say when someone presents with this, and others said they don't feel they can go there because where would they refer to, so it's a big thing. And of course it all tracks back into this, where are people signposted question, because as you and I both know, the common thinking is still there are just 2 types of drinkers. There's those who are absolutely at rock bottom, who need to go to rehab and alcohol services. Well, we kind of know how to deal with that as GPs or practitioners. That's kind of obvious. Just get you signed on for, big time serious help. And then there's everyone else who's just perfectly happy and a social drinker. And what do you mean you can't hold your beer, you plonker? You should be able to, and they don't recognise, the grey areas.
Yeah.
But maybe it's changing.
One of the biggest problems is, if you think about the GP, and if we're back to doing and being again, imagine, well, we know, don't we, just by doing a quick straw poll of the 20 closest people in our lives, we know that most of them are going to drink, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we know that. And the World Health Organization reports, they show that, I think the last time I looked at one, it was like 52% of people. So, all right, slightly, but, we were talking about, in Western culture anyway, more people are going to drink than not. So what are the odds that when you're dealing with your therapist or you're dealing with your GP or you're dealing with a coach, that they drink? So if they do drink and you go to them and you say to them, I'm thinking they might have a little bit of problem with drinking, and they drink.
Yeah.
And their knowledge and understanding around how this whole works is likely going to lead to the result that you said, which is to reassure you that you're okay. Like even some questioning around, are you in alignment with like the guidelines, the UK guidelines? Like, oh, well, I'm okay then. Like I once had a woman come to me to help her. She drank 4 glasses of wine a year. 4 glasses of wine a year. But she was really seriously worried that she couldn't stop drinking 4 glasses of wine a year. I mean, I chuckle at it now, but it goes to show that the reason that we have this problem is the denial piece. Is like this lack of understanding that it is a problem. And the more we have these conversations, the more we the more we have these conversations, really, the more people are listening into it. But
I mean, I definitely think that people, I mean, I just don't think that anyone should be diagnosed or treated for sort of, serious mental health issues unless they've kind of looked at that piece, because it's critically important, isn't it? That's looked at first. I don't know.
Personally, I know, like, go into these personal philosophy posts, that can rub people up the wrong way. I don't think I would hire somebody to help me quit alcohol who had not gone through it. I don't think I would. I wouldn't feel like I trusted their authority on it. Yeah. So even if they went to school, college and all that kind of stuff, give me a piss head any day that's gone through the other end.
But what I mean when I say that is if you've got someone who is rocking up, like, so for example, some of the women in my group have got menopausal symptoms or perimenopause. So they might rock up to I've heard this story several times. Rock up to a GP with symptoms. So they're talking about serious hot flushes and anxiety and mood swings and whatever the hell else, millions of things, and low mood and anxiety, and they'll be in many cases offered HRT or whatever, or antidepressants, but they've never been asked about drinking. And then what's really interesting is, a little time down the line, so a couple of them have actually given up the booze, found that all those other symptoms went away. Of course, I'm not saying in every case, of course not. But it is interesting how, a couple of them have kind of looked back and they've gone, oh my God, if only that I'd been asked that question, I might have been able to think about that then first.
Can I give you a funny little example of that?
Yeah.
So I recently interviewed a guy on my podcast called Dr. Will Cole. So he does a lot of work with Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop and that kind of thing. And he's a functional medicine practitioner. And I got interested in him. And I was having bloating issues and that kind of stuff. So I did his inflammation test and realized I had inflammation, chronic inflammation in all of my bodily systems. So I went on an 8-week elimination diet, which is basically cutting out all inflammatory foods, which if you're a vegan, which I am, is really complicated because you don't realize as a vegan how many inflammatory protein sources there are, right? So I end up eating next to nothing, which I'm pretty cool with. I'm okay with that. So I'm going to tell you this story. So 8 weeks I did this, everything changed, right? All of a sudden I went from doing 10 push-ups to 50, like no problem. From running a mile to running 4 miles to thinking like business wise, like I'd add more IQ, and EQ wise more present for people. But I had this one funny thing. I'd always had this thing where I would go to the toilet and have a pee, and then later on I would pee myself. Like I'd shake it, Janey, and I'd be done. I'd be there shaking it for ages, and then I would go and I would pee down my leg, and I'd be like, oh, fuck, I just pissed myself again, right? And then all of a sudden I realized I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not peeing myself. I only have to shake a couple of times and there's no pee there. I said to Dr. Will, what's going on? And he's like, inflammation was obviously causing you to urinate. Well, wow. Like I would never, ever, ever have known that unless somebody was asking the right questions. Yeah. And guess what? Guess what's one of the most inflammatory things you can put in your body?
Well, alcohol. Of course it is, yeah.
Right. Now, in Dr. Will's book, there's a little part on alcohol, right? And the part of alcohol says you need to remove it for 8 weeks. And a big load of stuff about like how difficult this is going to be. And then you've got to put it back in slowly. Why are we putting it back in? Do you know why? Because he wouldn't shift a copy of his book, but he wouldn't be able to operate in his role because nobody would take him seriously.
Yeah,
Think
absolutely
about
right.
That. That's
absolutely
nuts.
right. Yeah, absolutely right.
Absolutely.
I know. Fascinating, isn't it? Right, I'll give you another. Okay, joy. There's a thing, right? Joy. I mean, it's not even a word you use, is it? Unless you're in church. Or happiness, you can call it, whatever. And I remember for years, again, linked to the Hey housework that I did, I used to do loads of stuff around choosing happiness. You know, you see all these courses about how you can choose to be happy, and you remember Gretchen Rubin? She had that fabulous.
Oh yeah,
you remember her? I used to love her
Habits.
stuff. Yeah, I forget what it's called.
The
But
Happiness
anyway,
Project.
Happiness Project. That's it. Yeah, and I loved it. I kind of, you know, devoured the book and all the rest of it. And again, interviewed lots of people around happiness and the whole everything, laughter, yoga, everything. But was I happy? Was I hell? Was I hell? You know, I had every reason to be, no reason not to be. You know, really blessed and grateful, and you know, lovely family and a you know, cool job and everything. But there was a massive kind of core of, you know, I felt, if you'd asked me back then, I suppose, if you know, if you'd kind of put me on a lie detector and made me tell the truth, I suppose I probably would have said, I can't help it, you know, I'm just a grumpy bag, you know, I don't know why I just am, you know. I would have just said that,
it's my Brit in me.
yeah, I would have just thought, you know, it just is how I'm built, and I just can't seem to shift. I can't enjoy things, you know. Like I remember, and you know, I remember sort of even just when my kids were young, you know, I couldn't really, you know, I used to watch people just kind of actually really having fun with their kids, you know, actual fun, like childish fun, getting on the roundabouts or whatever it is. Never catch me doing that. I mean, that's my one regret. You can make I'll make myself cry if I go there, because that's my one regret, that I didn't do this sooner, right? Because I never had fun, because I just wasn't that kind of person. I wasn't a fun person. You know, do you know what I mean? God, and when I look back now, I think, what the hell? That's what I thought I was. But actually, it's not. It's just that I was numbing down the real me with the bloody booze.
I was going to ask you a question on that, if it's okay. Because obviously in Brené Brown's work in Daring Greatly, she says one of the most difficult emotions for us to feel and experience is joy. And she says that what we do is it's very, you know, it's very shame-based. So we forebode the joy. You know, we look at our, like I used to do this, look at my daughter in bed and like go, oh wow, she's so beautiful, and then a thought would come into my head that I'm going to crush her and she's going to die. You know, we don't allow ourselves to feel joy because we feel it's a setup and it's going to let us down, which is linked to how we were raised and shame. So maybe, Janey, like when you were drinking and you're not dealing with any of this shit, and then when you stop, you start to get more confident and you start to get okay with your shame. So you're not feeling shame anymore. You may be feeling a bit of guilt, but you're not ashamed. Like there's a difference there. So that now it opens the doorway to joy.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly it. It's exactly it. You know, I still got a ton of stuff to own and deal with and all like the rest of it. But like you said
about the playground stuff with the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
The big difference between attaching shame to that and saying I am a bad mother, as opposed to saying, you know, I made a few mistakes when I was a mother, and that's kind of like human. Yeah. We do that. You know?
Yeah. So the joy and the happiness is you know, a massive one. It's amazing. And then just the being present, I suppose. And that, you know, again, that brings it back to, I've got a few members in the Sober Club who are kind of early days, and their kids are very young. And wow, I'm like, wow, good for you. Do it now. You know, don't do what I did and wait. Do it now, because it is the best gift. Well, obviously it's the best gift you'll ever give yourself, but it's the best gift you'll ever give to give to your kids, isn't it? Right? Because you're actually present for them. And you know, and I remember all the goddamn times, you know, I would kind of rush the bedtime stories or desperately trying to find somebody to look after them so I could get out to go and drink. And, oh God, even just thinking about it. But you become present.
Our children end up protecting us though, don't they? You know, like, and again, this is, you know, I keep banging on about, you know, I think alcoholism is an invisible, violent, and dominant belief system, right? And part of this system is our children protect us. I also believe that we are actively implicit in imbibing in our children imbibing alcohol. So we encourage it. And I think we encourage it because it takes away the shame that we're doing it. Obviously subconsciously, right? So the dad who's saying to his son, go on, have your first drink when he's 14. There's a part of it that's saying, because if you do, what I'm doing doesn't have to feel bad.
Yeah.
Right. Because you'll be with me, you'll be doing it as well. But there's this other part of it whereby I'll give you an example of my boy. So my boy's 19 now. And when I was kind of like dealing with the forgiveness aspect of drinking and the divorce and all that with his mom, and I have a very open relationship with my boy, you know. So I was with him and I was saying, look, Jude, I just really want to apologize for being absent and being a drunk father. And obviously I'm crying my eyes out saying this. And he's like, Dad, I loved you when you were drinking. Like, I love you now, but I loved you then. And nothing you did made any difference to me. I have no bad memories of you being drunk. And I said, Jude, it's lovely for you to say that, but you have no idea of the capabilities I had as a father in that moment. You have no idea. I could have been 10x more present, done 10x more things. So yeah, it's great that you had a great childhood, but I'm telling you, it could have been so much greater. And I just want to apologize for that. And he was like, okay, I'll receive that, you know? So they help us out because they don't want us to be hurt.
Yeah, no, it's really true. Yeah. So there you go. There's a few benefits. There are many, many more, of course. There are millions, I think. Can I
have a comment on those?
Yeah, of course you can.
So while you were talking about them, what came up for me, which I think would be interesting for people listening, was how subjective this is. So it's not like a, is it a I can never pronounce this, panacea. So
panacea.
It's not panacea. So like what your experience is not going to be everybody else's experience. So for example, I've started doing an exercise where every 2 hours my alarm goes off and I check in with myself to see how I'm doing. And I've noticed that whenever I'm at home, there's this underlying hum of anxiety, which I never knew was there before. But when I was drinking, that anxiety the volume of it was so much higher. So even though I don't drink, there is still this hum of anxiety that I have when I'm at home that is linked to, and here's the important thing I think, is it's linked to, it's for me, approval. So it's like, I need Liza, my wife, I need you to approve of me working right now and not looking after my daughter. So the anxiety is still there for me, but as someone who doesn't drink alcohol, I would say like my greatest gift over 1,000 days plus is developing that awareness of
conscious awareness
of how I'm feeling and following that thread to where does that come from? And then most importantly, what do I do about it? So if I'm always seeking approval, you know, like what do you do about it? So what I've been doing about it is I've been catching it and I've been going, I'm going to deafen you in a minute, right? But I've been going, I approve of myself. I approve of myself. And I've been screaming it out, right? And my boy was on the phone the other day and I was telling him this and he was laughing his head off. And I was saying to him, yeah. And I said, my wife came to me and she said to me, Lee, you know, like, I just want to say that I really like this journey you're on, but every time you're shouting and screaming in your celebration, it's like, it bugs me, you know? And I'm like, okay, Liza, I really understand that. And I'm sorry, but I just want you to know, I approve of myself. And he was laughing. He actually sent me a little video earlier on. He was in the mirror going, I approve of myself. Because like, you know, I'm learning that celebrating, which is linked to what you said, enjoy, is frowned upon in our society. How dare you celebrate? Nobody wants a hero. Nobody wants your arrogance. Nobody wants your, you know, you putting your superlative energy on me and your better thanness, right? So like we're hemmed down, and it's just like, no way. Like I'm fucking done with that. Like let me be in my power and celebrate, right?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
By the way, my 4-year-old, like what happens when I'm jumping up and down, like getting that energy?
She does it too.
fucking yeah, she
Yeah,
loves
exactly.
it, right? She's like, Dad, let's celebrate.
No,
Like,
it's so true, and this is why we've all been kept small for so long, because we've all felt that self-love and self-esteem is, really naff, and it's just ego. And that lovely phrase, it's not showing off, it's showing up. It's actually being present for what you're meant to do. And yeah, I love that. I love that you approve of yourself,
especially if you're a bloke. Like, people think you're a nut job if you started saying, I am secure, I approve of myself, I am in control, and you started saying that and jumping around and celebrating because here's the thing, you want that thought. This is the work of Joe Dispenza, right? Brilliant. Breaking the habit of being yourself, right? This is the difference between, and this really helps when you want to stop drinking alcohol, the difference between thinking, I want to be someone who doesn't drink alcohol, and feeling, I am someone who doesn't drink alcohol. There's something that goes on that changes your rewiring neurologically. And so if you do that in celebration, then all of a sudden you're like, it becomes the new you. So this is the difference between someone coming on a call 30, like there are people out there that have gone 1,000 days sober who are still really struggling because they haven't done that being piece like we're talking about.
They haven't embodied it.
No, and they haven't spent time like you've just been talking about. Okay, so I'm not anxious anymore. I'm getting into joy. And where does that go? Where does that lead? And I don't know, I just find life so much more fascinating, as sober.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Lee. It's been fun to chat and celebrate.
I haven't got look, here are my balloons again for you.
Oh, smashing.
No, seriously, Janey. Like,
one of
I just
these days, you'll get to come over to the UK and we'll get to hang out.
I'm stuck here. I just want to say, huge congratulations for making it 1,000 days. But more than that, like, you chose to give back. Like, I'm reading this great book at the moment, and it's called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And it talks about immature and mature masculine energies. And it's not gender specific, right? So we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. And the peak immature masculine energy is the hero, is the charge. It's like Maverick in Top Gun, Tom Cruise, they take too many risks. They don't know the limitations. And the key thing is they fight, but they fight for themselves. And they fight for their own ego. Our well-harnessed hero energy transforms into the mature masculine warrior energy, where suddenly the person is fighting, but they're fighting for a much greater purpose. And I just want to honor your warrior energy within you because you are doing this podcast. You've got the Sober Club, and you've decided to really help people make a difference in the world. And I want to honor you for that and tell you that I see that. And I think that's really special about you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks so much for taking the time. It's great to not just have to talk to myself. So thank you. I really appreciate it, Lee. Just give us your website. People can find more about your work.
It is www.1000dayssober.com, and there is a link on there. It's called a Choose Yourself call. You'll end up speaking to me, and we'll figure out what we could do to help you out.
Love it. Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed our chat. Lee's just great, isn't he? And by the way, I just also wanted to say, if there's anyone doing Go Sober for October, which I'm sure many people listening to this are going to do that, that 30 days or whatever it is, then I just want to say, just a big up to you for doing this. And despite, the fact that we talk about, I'm 1,000 days, obviously, and we talk about, people who have these long periods of time sober. If you are right at the beginning, it is hard to think like that. And I totally understand that, if you're on day 1 or 2, you can't think beyond day 3, and that's perfectly okay. So, I want to celebrate my time, but I also want to say I totally remember how it feels to not be able to talk about this as a forever thing. So just, absolutely do take one day at a time. Just decide, I'm not drinking today, but do your prep. That's my absolute top tip. I really do believe that your success in this is how much you want to do this, whether you've got a really good motivation, a really good why, and whether you've done your prep, whether you've actually put the kind of groundwork in. So if you are, if you're struggling, if you're finding this stuff hard, then absolutely reach out. There's absolutely no doubt about it. The connection is what will make this easier. And I know that because, as I've told you guys, I did it alone, apart from the lovely Claire Pooley, who kind of held my hand a little bit on email. I did it alone, and that was so totally not the right thing to do. And I know that now. I did a lot of things wrong. I didn't eat well, and I now know that's a huge factor with the training that I've done for my coaching. I've really, really learned so much more now about the neuroscience, and there's absolutely no doubt about it. You need to eat really well. So if you're doing Sober October, don't also be trying to lose weight, because the two things don't go together well. If you really do want to ditch the booze, hopefully beyond October. My thing. I highly recommend, starting with 90 days. Set yourself that challenge rather than sort of white knuckle it just through October. Anyways, whatever's going on for you, then stay strong. Reach out if you need help. I mentioned that I think I've told you that I did my coach training. I'm a grey area recovery drinking coach, and obviously I do NLP and wellbeing stuff as well. And I trained with the fabulous Jolene Gray. Jolene Park. I train with the fabulous Jolene Park. I said grey because, of course, she is the queen of grey area drinking stuff. So if you're interested in doing that kind of coaching, drop me a message, drop me an email, and I'll talk you through it, because it is a fantastic kind of thing to learn, really, even if just for yourself, even if you don't want to be a coach. It's amazing when you really learn how these different pieces sort of fit together with what's going on, with the brain and the body, which is a key piece of it as well. We have got our Champ this weekend. How amazing. We're so lucky, depending on when you're listening to this. Some of us Sober Club members, a few of us will be on our self-care and sobriety retreat. If that's something that you would be interested in, we have another one coming up in January. So make sure you register your interest. Obviously, places are very limited, but it would be absolutely amazing to have you with us. So register your interest for that. I will be hosting another retreat event, probably just a one-day event in London. So again, register your interest and stay connected. Really is important. We're going to open up the Sober Club just for a kind of a flash, 24-hour period, because I recognise that there'll be some people who are really serious about this October thing, and they really do want to start thinking about their health and well-being and focusing on the what's next. So we'll do a little flash opening for those people towards the end of October. So get in touch if that's of interest. Have a fantastic week, whatever you're doing, and lots of love and a huge, huge, huge hug if you are rocking it sober. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.